Hi, I'm Donnie Funk, and I'm running for City Council in District 4. The City of Lee Summit has many critical decisions ahead of it with the undeveloped PRI land coming available to the market. We cannot outgrow our public safety services or our school district. It is imperative we have an open dialogue and collaborate with our citizens, public safety officials, school district, and our community stakeholders regarding the future of our city. I believe I have the experience and leadership skills to help facilitate these conversations so we can grow responsibly. Hope you'll vote for me on April 7th.
Jason? Today's episode of the Lee Summit Town Hall podcast is brought to the good people by Budget Blinds of Lee Summit.
Budget Blinds!
Hey, did you know that Budget Blinds is the home for Signature Series automated shades, and they provide a safer environment for your children and your pets?
I'm just saying that our robot shade overlords will protect us all.
That they will. It's that cordless nature that makes it safe for everybody. They're also programmable, which is fun. We talked about this before. You can use your phone, your Alexa, a remote, your Google, whatever smart device you want. Make those shades go up and down, which is a lot more efficient.
There you go. Keep your home safer and a little bit more energy friendly. And once again, hail our robot shade overlords.
So if you're ready to make that change, if you're ready to make your home more efficient and safer, go see our friends at Budget Blinds of Lee Summit. Tell them Jason Nick sent you.
Hello again and welcome to Lee Summit Town Hall, a weekly podcast about what you can do to make a difference. I am Jason Norbury, and as always, I'm joined by a man who is this week so grateful that we didn't get to record this until late. It's Nick Parker, the publisher of Link to Lee Summit. I know he's so happy that he got to come and spend like late evening hours to accommodate my child shuttling schedule. So to you, Nick, I say thank you. Not only for being so patient, but also providing me with the leftovers from your upcoming Beers with Nigel podcast.
There we go. You know, look, I try to do nice things.
So,
and this is your only time.
Yeah, I know. Probably
from now on, stay on schedule. Come on.
Okay. Fair enough. All right.
The job that I don't pay you.
Our unofficial sponsor today is Gratitude, and I'm expressing a little of it, and that's probably all I've got for the whole week. So, welcome to you, Nick. You got it.
So you're done.
I'm done.
All right. There we go.
Done. I'm going to be a curmudgeon the rest of the week.
Let's dig in. I got some stuff.
Let's do some stuff.
I got some stuff. We
have, by the way, nothing huge, nothing earth-shattering, but some cool stuff.
Yeah. I got a couple events, some things that are coming up, and then I want to ask some questions. I got a little thing I want to talk about.
All right.
Let's dig in. First, really cool thing. I like doing this every year, but Lee Summit Social Services has an annual pancake breakfast every year. I guess that's why I said annual, right? I just repeated myself.
The way that is implied.
Yeah. Annual pancake breakfast. It is this Saturday at the First Baptist Church in downtown. Help them raise a little money. And, you know, you get good eats.
You get pancakes.
And
you get sausage.
If you're a teacher, you get to eat for free.
There's even better. So, look, now let's be clear. Nick is now excited about this even more than he is on a regular year because he does not have to pay for his lovely wife who will get to eat for free.
You know.
Cheap Nick.
I'm not gonna say you're wrong. I'm not going to say it. But
there we are.
There we go.
No,
that's a cool event.
It's a good cause, and you should go support it, despite the fact that Matt Sanning is still the director over at Lee Summit Social Services. Multi-guest Matt Sanning on this podcast.
Hey, while we are on that, nobody guessed. I put out a little contest right before our 300th episode of if anyone could name the three people that have the highest number of appearances on the show. There are three.
And who are they?
They are, nobody got this, Matt Sanning.
Okay, let me be clear. I got some of these.
Dave Eames and Julie Cook. So Dave has the distinction of being our first guest on our first episode, and also, you know, maybe, can we call him nicest guy in Lee Summit?
He is certainly on the list.
Yeah, I think that's close. It's Dave Eames from Fossil Forge and the local foundry. You've probably seen 80% of the signs in the KC area that have been designed and installed by he and his team. That's not a real stat, but I like saying it anyway.
Honestly, and you've heard us, I will say, evince a significant amount of jealousy for all the talent and niceness that he has.
Well, here's how I can negate that.
Yeah.
He's Team Burger, so he's wrong.
Right. So
hey, also Julie Cook, the event director for Downtown Lee Summit Main Street. She's been on several times. to talk about the events coming up. We're going to have her on again real soon. And then Matt Sanning has been a great resource for us when we want to talk about some of the issues around our community, especially when we're talking about the underserved and the impoverished. He's been fantastic. Each of those three have been on 5 times. We can't wait to have them again because they play really important roles in our community.
Absolutely. And we know we're going to have Dave on here in the not too far future, but if Julie or Matt want to be the first to 6, the bribe line is open.
That's true, folks. The bribe line is open. All right. Well, that's the event talk. Let's dig into some of the things. First thing I want to talk about is it's election time. Obviously, that's
Really?
all we talk about. It seems like
I hadn't even noticed.
There has been a lot of talk on social media lately about some groups around town, some political action groups, and endorsements that are being made when it comes to candidates. I just thought it'd be a good idea. Maybe we can talk a little bit, Jason, about who some of these groups are and maybe what voters should think about when they see these endorsements and how they should consider whether or not those endorsements should play a role in their decision making. I mean, obviously, selfishly, I want everyone to listen to our interviews of the candidates that come in, but I think these are groups that play roles in the community. They have a voice and they are using it. So Jason, when you look at, and specifically, I'm going to talk about Foundations for Our Future, which is a group of business leaders around the community. I want to talk about IAFF, which is the local firefighters union, and the FOP, which is the local police union. I want to talk about those 3 specifically because I think they're really the players in town, if I can use that word. So when you first you see some of this conversation that's happening, and you see that endorsements are coming out, both the IAFF and the Fraternal Order of Police have issued their endorsements for city council candidates, and you can check out their Facebook pages and things to see who those are. But when you see those coming out, what are the things that run through your mind, Jason, and maybe how that will play with voters in the community?
Well, I mean, I certainly think that there's very little, if any, public backlash in this day and age in America about us being supportive of our firefighters and our police officers as a whole. So I think on a very, very surface level, and this is the very top level surface level, it's never a bad look, right, to be supported by our local firefighters and our local police officers. I think you're going to see every candidate is well, every candidate wants every endorsement, but that's right.
Those are typically things that every candidate really shoots for.
And you're certainly not going to see any candidates, or very few candidates, or any candidate who would like to win at the very least, going to come out and say, I think our police and fire are overpaid and oversupplied, and perhaps we need to cut back on those budgets. You're not going to see that as a thing. So as a political reality, support for our police and fire unions. Now, as we in Lee Summit have learned a couple of years ago, as we marched up to the 2018 elections, there was a lot of conversation about, I'll say at the city council level, about how and when to prioritize making changes in the compensation structure for those groups in particular, as well as the other city
and that conversation played a big role in that election.
Right. It played a big role. It was, I think the IFF took an outsized role from their priors on supporting candidates and pushing the things that they wanted out of that whole process. And I think you see some of the similar things. The next round of collective bargaining is never, ever really far away.
Right.
But it is coming up, I believe, for the firefighters. I think theirs is coming up in the next year or so. The FOP may be a little bit behind that. I don't know how those are staggered, but those are coming up, and they want to line up support for that. So one of the lenses that you need to look in is, what do the firefighters and what do the police officers want out of that whole thing? And this is not a value judgment on their requests or their demands or their efforts to exert political leverage to improve their financial standing in the world. I think all of those things are fine, but just understand that, with any of these groups, including, the non-union PACs, that their emphasis or their interests don't necessarily align with everything that you want to be dealing with. And you, the voter, may be more sensitive to the budget impact of, increasing salaries or compensation or supply, equipping or whatever they may has on that city budget, and how your relative balance on that sort of a subject matter may be different than where the firefighters union is.
You mentioned some of the non-union, and so let's shift over to the Foundations for Our Future a little bit. And like I said, this is a group of business people throughout the community. It's people that have been involved in various things throughout the community for most of them for a long time. There has been a little pushback on some of their social media lately, and I think some of that centers around language used in their posts. And so I think maybe, I don't know, I think maybe some people might be confused as to the role they play. And I think that's why I kind of wanted to ask that question, because it looked like people were saying, well, what does this mean when you endorse?
Right. Well, what it means is, I mean, this is a group that really came to existence just a couple of years ago during the last city council election cycle and all of that, and they made endorsements. And
well, it kind of restarted. It's been around for a long time. It was actually started by Gene Gamber.
Right. In its current incarnation. I'll put it that way. To really kickstart it in that whole thing. And I think, they have not made specifically clear what standards they're using to evaluate their candidates. Now, if you, and this is something I encourage everyone to do, is go read the words they say. I mean, not to, oversimplify this, but when they make posts, you should read them. And when they talk about what kinds of things they're looking for, I mean, so if you just read their very basic, and this is just my take on this, is when you read their little headline thing, preserving and improving Lee Summit's quality of life. That's their starting. So preserving gives you a very, and I don't mean this in a pejorative way, a status quo bias, right? They like a lot of the things about Lee Summit as they are, and they wish that those things to remain the same. And I think that, a lot of where the friction has come is some of their endorsements for the school board, 2 years ago or a year ago, came about, and, that escalated the friction between the school board and the superintendent, not their endorsements, but the election of the candidates that they endorsed. And I think there's a tension in the community still about whether the change that, Dennis Carpenter was pushing for, or the equity plan and those sorts of things, is something that we want to put there. And I think you could safely say, and once again, in a non-pejorative way, that Foundations for Our Future is really, on the small c conservative side of that stance, right? They want a little bit less change, maybe something a little bit less dramatic, and those sorts of things. And so it's in there. Now, you can, and I encourage everyone to, read their endorsements, read their questionnaires, watch the videos as they get posted, do those things to see the questions that they ask, because you have to make a decision. Is this an organization whose expressed values align with mine, or do they align sufficiently that I think that their, support is good or bad, or whatever the case may be?
I think what you're saying, and I'm agree with this, is like when you look at the candidates, when you look at these endorsements, just do your homework a little bit. Be informed as to what they're saying and what they mean, and let that help you make your own decision. But I just thought I wanted to take just a little bit of time just to talk about those groups. We've heard about, maybe there are some others that might be offering endorsements, and we'll kind of fill in as those happen. But those are the three right now that are active and in the public conversation. I thought it was a good time to take a step back and let's look at who they are, and then you can kind of make your decisions as you go.
And honestly, I think what you really need to do in order to make an informed decision is listen to all of the interviews that we are doing with all of the school board and city council candidates, and make your decisions based on the information that we try to elicit from those candidates for you.
I really love a little self-promotion.
Hey, look, we don't get paid if we don't promote ourselves.
Well, you don't get paid anyway.
True.
Yeah,
so I'm going to promote myself, because that's then that's all I have.
We do try our best to ask solid questions of all of the candidates. We send out questionnaires. Those are going to be posted soon as well as we start collecting those in. So tune in. Those next ones are coming Friday, and we're going to talk a little bit about that later on. Let's now, Jason, let us go to
As the Council Turns.
As the Council Turns. As we move into our favorite soap opera, Jason, I want to talk a little bit about another one of our favorite topics, and that is economic development.
Yay!
And slides in a little bit of public incentive talk.
And let's not forget urban planning.
Urban plan.
Because we got to make you happy.
Yeah,
I got to
that's
make
true.
me happy. And the council is doing that, and the city staff is doing that all in a one swoop.
This is an everyone's happy circle.
Well, we'll see. there are a lot of ifs and boxes to check in Jefferson City before this all becomes.
That's true. What we're going to talk about first is there was a memorandum of understanding at last night's council meeting that the council did approve. They voted unanimously to approve, and this all centers around a plan to redo the interchange at 291 and 150. This is 291 South.
And 50, not
And
150.
I'm sorry, and 50.
291 North, the northbound section, because they've just redone the south. We finished up the south just a couple
I
years
just
ago.
totally messed that whole thing up.
You did. Well, you know what? You're fired as a city planner.
There we go. Dang it, I cannot work in that. Wait, there are many reasons why I'm not qualified to do that.
That's true.
So 291 and 50. This will move the Highway Patrol's office. This will move the Quick Trip, and it will hopefully, what the city hopes is this will spark some redevelopment in an area that's in need of it.
Right. So just to give you the basic process,
Clear up all the things that I messed up.
Yeah, and just a little bit more detail. So as most of you would be aware, that at the intersection there at 291 and 50 is the Highway Patrol's Troop A headquarters, right there, kind of squeezed into the corner between Lee Summit High School and those two highways. And the plan is they are going to move. I think they're going to do this part anyway. They're going to move from that location up to Colburn Road in what is the Missouri Highway Department's or Department of Transportation's building that's up there, and make a significant number of improvements. And a lot of this is going to be helped subsidized by TIFs and other subsidies from state legislature, but also from here in Lee Summit. And then the plan would be to reroute Blue Parkway, and so that's the northbound access road. It'll kind of take it northward up north of where the Quick Trip is now, and kind of loop it back down south, so it gets a farther distance away from 50 Highway, which is the major safety concern about the way that traffic. And then there would be a redo of the interchange.
Diverging Diamond
time, and then somewhere in there, and none of this is said out loud, but there is Developer 1. If you look at the drawings on the City Council's presentation, it's very clear that a lot of this road runs right over the top of where the current Quick Trip is. So if you want my guess, Developer 1 is the Quick Trip Corporation, and they're going to land themselves a shiny new Quick Trip out of this in the overall process.
Which, can we just take a moment? We love more Quick Trips.
We love shiny Quick Trips.
Shiny Quick Trips are the
Look,
best.
I'm going to say the Quick Trip that's like 2 blocks from my house is like, it's the best thing because it's right there. And
good.
It's right there, and I can just go there, and I go there way more than is what I would call healthy.
Well, listen, we don't talk healthy.
Right. But I'm there a lot because it's literally, it's right there. It's on my way out. It's on my way in. It's incredibly convenient. I'm there all the time. So I get it, but we get a shiny new Quick Trip. But it also opens up some of that land for further commercial development. And then by upgrading that interchange and upgrading Blue Parkway and all those bits and pieces, you really do change some of the lay of the land there. And it should open up some opportunities to get a little bit more development in that part of the city.
And like you said earlier, all of this hinges on some things happening at the state level. So even if everything goes according to plan, one of the things that was noted during the meeting was this project wouldn't start until likely 2023.
Right.
So we're a long ways off, but this was the beginning. And I think anyone who saw what happened on the other 291 and 50 interchange, traffic is much, much more improved now.
Even that you can deal with the diverging
Divergeabout.
The divergeabout. That's the word. There's the word. The divergeabout down there.
There are a lot of people who really don't like the traffic circle part.
My mother banged
the roundabout. But it really has made a difference. Both that combined with the diverging diamond has made a huge difference. The traffic problems have really been fixed.
Right, you don't get the backups on the 50 highway.
It's a great thing. So and if you look around, it's led to some redevelopment. That Pine Tree Plaza has been redeveloped. So there's a lot going on there, and I think this could lead to some more development too. It's a long way off, but this is the start of a project that I think should make people feel good about the future.
Yeah, I think it's good, and it'll there's some significant, like there was on the South 291 South interchange. There's some significant city input into this in terms of financing and dollars and some things to match up to state level costs. Because you keep in mind, and this is a running gag at our planning commission. And I try to get the staff to say it on a regular basis, but they won't.
You're mean.
Generally will. But essentially, 291, 50, some of these roads are the jurisdiction of the Missouri Department of Transportation. And they move and operate on their own time frame and under their own budgetary constraints, which is, of course, set by the legislature there in Jefferson City. And I think I've made clear my opinion of the efficacy of that particular body as we go forward. And so things just happen on their own time frame with that. And a lot of times we do things and it's like, well, we could begin this construction tomorrow, but we have to wait on the Missouri Department of Transportation to give us a ruling or a bill or a plan or to do something like that. And it's like a wait and see sort of thing. We're going to have that, and it's going to be that on steroids, because they have to go to and get funding in through the legislature into the budgets for these next several years so that they can have the funds to do all this.
So just a little note, things that may be coming up. We will keep you informed as things move forward. If things move forward, we'll be your place for it. Mm-hmm. Let's move on to Jason. Doom and gloom.
Doom.
I'm afraid if you pay your utility bills online, your water bill on the city site, you're going to end up paying a little bit more. What do you have to say?
I don't even have anything to say about this. The only thing, it's going to lead me into one of those like get off my lawn old man rants about why, when we're going through the convenience of paying online for anything, we have to pay a convenience fee, right? Like it's extra money to so that they don't have to have an employee. But other than that, I'm sure we did not watch the city council deliberations on this. I'm sure there's sound reasons why they're doing the things they're doing. This will pay for some upgrades. There's some other stuff coming through the water department in the next period of time on stormwater and some other things. So this is not the last adjustment in your water bill that you may see coming forward. So be prepared.
We're having a little fun at the expense of the city.
Yeah, a little fun at the expense of the city.
An extra $3.25 on your fee if you pay online.
There you go. So
can I tell you something?
Huh?
I'm still going to pay it.
Because
online is easier.
Honestly, I feel like who even has checks anymore?
Right. Yeah.
So there we go. All right. So one of the,
what else you got?
Well, there's one other. I think. Well, there's two other things. They're both planning-ish things. There was a contract on the docket this evening to hire the design work for the upgrades for the police department building and the municipal court building, as we voted on in August in our bond issue. So just note that this is sort of the first go round of money being spent or allocated to take care of that work that we did vote for going forward. And then the last bit and piece is that the city council was voting again on the preliminary development plan for the Colburn Road Library branch.
Hey, but before you get to that,
this is a library
have
branch.
Have you seen the new library?
It is pretty.
That thing is shiny and pretty over there by the hospital.
Yeah, and so I have dug around because the Colburn Road branch is my branch. And I'm on the planning commission, so I saw this come through, and there's one major change. Then when they did the big tax bond issue, several years ago, that came through, and what they had talked about in that is amongst the changes that they were going to do a bunch of renovations and upgrades and expansion to the Colburn Road branch. And what apparently happened is when they got their architects and engineers in there, they went, maybe you just want to tear this whole thing down. and so they found
so what you're telling me is a little different plan than we thought.
A little bit different plan. I mean, the end result is about the same as what we got, but without it, instead of just slapping or putting things on and attaching it to the current building, they're just going to knock the building down, make a couple, it's going to move slightly and it's going to be a lot bigger and the parking's going to change and all those sorts of things. All that stuff it's essentially what we were promised as an end product, but the road is a little bit different going forward. But the worst part, and here's the thing that's the most upsetting, and this was not on the city council's docket. It means that my library branch that is so very close to my house is going to close. They are going to take all of the stuff, including the staff, from the Colburn Road Library. They're going to close that branch and knock it down. They're going to move it all to the new East Branch there on Blue Parkway. And then they're going to build a new branch there at Colburn. And my wife's biggest concern is that how many of the librarians are going to go back to the Colburn Road branch when it reopens in a year or so.
Because we don't like change.
We don't like change, and we like, and my daughter loves that library branch, and she loves some bunch of the staff that's there, and they are great. But as a whole, so our biggest concern, really, this is it. Do we get our librarians back when the library reopens in 2021?
So Seth, this is our question for you, who has also been a guest on our show. Seth, does Jason get his librarians back? I am now a Lee Summit branch library guy.
Well, and as apparently I'm going to be for a period of time, because apparently they do not have teleportation technology that allows them to snap their fingers and have all the stuff and the staff just move over in like a day. There's going to be a period of time when the Colburn Road branch is closed, but the East branch is not yet open.
Uh-oh.
And so we are all Lee Summit branch here starting mid-March.
To tease an upcoming project, we are Lee Summit.
We are.
I'm just going to leave it at that.
All right.
Hey, I have one final thing. We teased a little bit of this before, but I'm excited. Last Friday, we started our candidate interviews. We started last Friday with our candidates for District 1, Hillary Shields, Steve Lambert, and Robert Dye. You can check all of those out either through the podcast. They were last week's episodes, or if you want to go to linktoleesummit.com, they're available there too. This week on Friday, Jason, we get to introduce the first set of candidates for the R7 Board of Education. What we've done to allow us to have better conversations and to fit these in time and personal lives is we split the 9 candidates into groups of 3. So this week we're gonna start with our first batch of candidates, and I'm excited, Jason. I think there are some things to talk about in the school district, and these are honestly these are people I don't know, so it'll be nice to meet them and to learn a little bit about why they're running and what the issues that are driving them to run.
Right, and we have been critical, I think, of the unwieldy nature of really big candidate forum panels in the past, and so this is our kludge to try to figure out how to do that, to get the forum so you get a little of the I'll call it creative tension amongst candidates as they put forth their differing visions for things, but also not have it be so many people on there that you can't compare A to B or apples to apples, and by the time candidate 9 has spoken, everybody has forgotten what candidate 1 had to say
or what the question was. So we're going to start on Friday. It's going to be Kathy Campbell, Larry Anderson, and David Thompson. Those are going to be our first set of board candidates. If you've got some questions you want to make sure we ask, let us know. You can hit us on Facebook or Instagram at Link to Lee Summit, on Twitter at LS Town Hall, or you can email me, Nick at linktoleesummit.com. Let us know what we should be asking them.
Just reach out to us on the socials.
Yeah, that's the better way. Jason, I think that's really all we've got. I know it's weird that we talk about election all the time, but I'm excited about it. This is a good time. This is when people can be involved. This is how you get into it and know what's going on in your community. It's the reason we started this podcast.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to it, and I'm really looking forward because you're right. I don't know these candidates particularly well either. We did interview, I think Kathy Campbell has run before. We did interview her last year, but it's a learning experience for all of us, and we're going to see how it goes, but I'm excited.
There we go, folks. That's going to be our episode for this week. Join us on Friday as we meet our first batch of Board of Education candidates. We'll talk to everybody on Friday. You have been listening to Lee Summit Town Hall, a Link to Lee Summit podcast with hosts Nick Parker and Jason Norberry. A proud member of the Fredcast Network, you can subscribe to this podcast on most of your favorite podcast apps and catch us every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for all the news, analysis, and conversations on the Lee Summit community. Connect with us on Facebook at Link to Lee Summit or on Twitter at LS Town Hall.